get the angle right. I want you to see the picture. The whole picture. I don't want to cover up Xiaohua like the show did. He's one of my favorite characters. The show already deleted him. I don't want to accidentally delete him too by being like this. Oh, you can't see him. Is this video upside down or not? That's all I want to know. I tell ya, it takes such a long time just to make sure that I look nice, or at the very least presentable, and then on the camera, because I look different in real life, I think everybody does a little bit, and then set up the camera, and I'm using my tablet instead of my phone. I'll tell you why in a minute. But my tablet is like so close to dying that I got to plug it in, and therefore that limits me onto where I can put it. And then I get this poster that I absolutely adore. Xiaohua, I don't want you to disappear. I love Xiaohua. I don't want Ling to disappear, obviously, either. If you haven't heard me use those names before, yes, this is the Grave Robber Chronicles. I don't know who drew it, but I think it's something official, not just some kind of fan-made whatever. I'm pretty sure it's like official. Xiaohua, Qiling, Wuxie, Black Glasses, and Fatty. And that's sort of kind of my favorite characters. But when it's a first-person story, I mean, sometimes you just plain get really tired of being inside a character's head. You're like, can I be inside someone else's head for a bit or something? Like, I don't know. That's why I almost never... Cat, get your clothes out. I almost never write first person because, yeah, I don't like reading it and I don't like writing it in general. Kitty cat. And if you can see the doll over here, no idea whatsoever what his name is. Melly, at the very least, is letting me borrow him. Because I lost Jessie and I still miss Jessie and Kitty. I totally miss Jessie and Kitty. I wanted Jessie for so long and I finally got him and then he burned and I miss him. I mean, he's cool, but at the same time, he's also not the one I would have picked. Like the tattoo. The big problem is that, like, I have no idea what his name is. I don't know who he is. I have, like, nothing for him. And, like, cat, you're spreading hair so all over the place. It's just whatnot ever. I turned this light off because I don't know. I can't tell which is better. Wrong way. I don't know. That does weird things when it's on, but when it's off, it also seems kind of dark. I've got cat hair all over me now. Cat. So my phone being off, last night when I was heading for bed, it was at 1%, so I was like, meh, I want today, to be a day for me anyway, so meh, I just left it on the table and let it die. And then when I got up, after a little while, I'm like, okay, I should probably at least charge it. And I leave it off while I'm charging it so it can completely fully charge with nothing draining its battery. And right now it's at 92%. When I plugged it in around, like, what was it, noon? Close, almost 10, it's 3:50 right now. So almost 4 hours at least to charge from 0%. So it's off right now, so I'm using my tablet instead. The friggin' tablet. I didn't use it for the longest time. Like, after I bought it, I wasn't using it because I was afraid of, like, breaking it or something because I didn't have a case or a screen protector for it. Well, both finally came in the mail. I love the case, but this friggin' screen protector, I obviously got the cheapest available, I swear, and it's something wrong with it right off the bat. I swear the sticky side of the screen protector itself is dirty because I completely cleaned off the tablet. It was 100% clean. There was nothing on it. I used the official rag and everything. It was perfect. And then I go to put this thing on, but it's got, like, bubbles all over it because, like, and especially, like, right now, it looks like there's stuff that I can, like, it's like, I try to, nope, that's underneath the screen protector. It looks terrible. I am so tempted to just rip it back off again. But it's one of these smart book thingamabobbers where, like, the lamp went off. Why did the lamp go off? I didn't touch it. Apparently the light bulb's dying. Is dead. Now I look terrible. It's way too dark. Reusable books. Because you can write stuff on there. And then you use the pen to erase stuff. And or you can use the cloth. The official cloth. What was that? Hold on a sec. Hickey weird. I think Vicky talked about it doing that once. But I'd never seen it actually do that. Where it's like, well, it, like, blinks and flashes at you or something. get it damp and to erase everything off the page. I haven't done that yet because I haven't need to erase anything yet. I don't know, because as usual when I do these kind of videos and stuff, bring up Xiaohua. Yes, I'm still furious at the shows for cutting that character out. As they went along in the show, he got cut out more and more and got changed more and more, so he was less and less like he is in the book, and he's one of the most epic characters in the whole thing, and yet he turned into a, by the last one that by the last two that the shows, I'm like, that is not even Xiaohua anymore. That is Mr. Fake. I refuse to even call him Xiaohua anymore. He is just plain Mr. Fake. Xiaohua is not in Sansi or Sound of Providence. Only Mr. Fake is. And the ultimate, that is bare minimal of Xiaohua. Anyway. And I'm shaking the table, therefore I'm shaking the laptop, therefore I'm shaking the tablet, because this is like propped up by the laptop. Patreon. I made a Patreon where people could support my writing and stuff if they wanted to. Absolutely nobody I know seems to be interested at all in doing it. And I'm sure they all have their reasons, so fine, whatever. And only a few people shared for me about the Patreon too. And I'm sure they all have their reasons, so I don't know, whatever. Fine. Nobody has signed up for my Patreon yet. I don't know how to get the word out to strangers, so I haven't really yet. So fine, I have no Patreons. Okay, fine, whatever. But just so you know, if you happen to see this, whether you're a stranger or whether you're somebody know, just so you know, right now, I barely put anything up on Patreon. When I first made it, I did put some stuff up there, so there is a few things on there right now. But for the most part, I haven't really put anything on there, and I'm not updating it and all that stuff. And I know that doesn't look good, because then if any strangers do happen to stumble on it, which I'm sure they won't, because there's a bazillion creators on Patreon, so how on earth are they going to randomly manage to stumble on mine? And they're going to find, like, no content on top of no Patreons, so nobody's going to sign up that way. But at the same time, I mean, I know it's a bad habit of mine. No matter how interested and excited I am about something, if nobody I know seems to have any interest in it whatsoever, then my interest level goes too. So, but that's not entirely the case. I would still love to be able to, like, actually be active on Patreon, like, being able to, like, fairly share everything I do and all the rest of that. I mean, the author of that thing is an inspiration. I mean, he does put stuff free online. He updates, like, the fans and everything get to see it as he writes it, and then he corrects it and actually publishes it in an actual book later. I would love to be able to do that. Just, like, you know, update you as I'm writing and all the rest of that stuff. I don't know if I could actually go to that degree, because I have some problems sometimes being a little bit too much of a perfectionist. So I don't know if I could go that far. But the point is that I would like to update more on the Patreon, and if anybody did decide to sign up for any of those tiers, then I definitely would, because they're paying me, and someone did sign up, and they are paying me. I would definitely make an effort to make sure that it was worth it, that I kept up with what I said that I would do on that page, even if it's just one person that signed up for one tier. That tier and everything below it, therefore, would be updated to make it worth their time. But until I get a Patreon, it's probably not going to get updated, because what on earth is the point if nobody's even there? So, that's what's happening with my Patreon. It does exist, and if somebody wants to sign up, then do so, and as soon as I realize that someone has signed up, I will do my best to continue to update it, even if it's just for that one person that wants to see what it's like to be me rhyming on purpose. Because there's plenty of stuff I can share, and there's plenty of more stuff if I have more time to be able to concentrate on it. That's always one thing too that's always been a fear of mine, because I have such a problem with, like, being consistent and concentrating. It's all to do with ADHD. Believe me, it is. Go look up Dr. Russell Barkley, I believe his name is. I've been recently listening to some of the stuff that he's done on ADHD, and he has, like, all kinds of studies and charts and all kinds of, like, images of the brains and all sorts of technical doctor terms and proof of what ADHD is and how it actually affects human beings. So I found out even more stuff through him that's like, If it wasn't for all these lockdowns and whatnot, then I probably would have gone to a doctor and said, can I have an official diagnosis? Because the stamp of and all that, and if I wasn't already on too many medications, I actually might be asking for ADHD medication just to see if it would help me. But because I'm on so many other medications, I'm like, I don't want to go on even more medications. Are you kidding me? And I don't even know if it would work alongside the ones that I'm on. You sit like this for a bit so I can cover up. I'm gonna cover up black eyes like this. Anyway. Oh, that was all still on the topic of the Patreon, and yeah, do my best to be like updating it, because even some days, like if Mickey's around, it's just having another person in the house just automatically makes it hard for me to concentrate on creating stuff. I don't know why. Some days it seems to be fine, and then other days it's just having them in the house. So all of that factors in me being able to concentrate and work on my stories. And then my last NaNoWriMo story, I still haven't finished, and I don't know if I can. Like, I went and looked at it recently, and I'm like, yeah, I can't concentrate on writing that right now. It was a certain whole kind of mood, and unfortunately that mood has definitely, aside from the fact that I don't know exactly how to connect and continue with the story itself, I'm not sure what the plot's doing, the mood, which it's a mood story, it was majorly a mood story. Like, its point was the mood story. And unfortunately, that mood has been very much broken because it was brought on by especially one Chinese drama that I was watching, and that was how many dramas ago, because I've like watched many since then, and they're all very different mood. So, that mood's been completely broken. I probably have to go back and watch that show again in order to get back into the mood in order to finish that story. If I put anything on Patreon, like even if I never finish it, that's one of the things about the Patreon thing that I was thinking. Even if I never finish the stories, which I have plenty of ideas and snippets and stories that aren't finished, stories that likely never will be finished, etc. But I was even thinking of putting stuff like that on there, a whole ton of like unfinished stuff and whatnot, just on Patreon for you to see, kind of like what it's like, and have a little bit of a, would you please finish this? I'm not going to. But maybe enjoy what's there, even that kind of, that's what I intended to put. That was some of the stuff that I intended to put on Patreon, to like, come join my world and have fun here. On the topics of Patreon and stuff, yeah, look what I went ahead and did. I did not know I had a book long enough. I mean, I know it's like 106,300 words almost. Book. I did not realize, though, that it would be this and thick. The writing is fairly big, but it's a little bit bigger than I'd expect in a book. It's not really supposed to be that thick, but even then, I didn't think a book would be this thick. I'm so proud of myself to know I've got a book this thick that I wrote. And then on the other hand, I seriously did not realize that this one would be that small. Can you do that, sir? Is that small? And I know it turned out kind of weird. There's not as much spacing between the lines as there should be. But that wouldn't make that much of a difference. Okay. These are two of my favorite stories that I've ever written, and I've talked about them more than once. And the picture isn't on the back of this one either. It's just black, whereas this one, the picture wraps around. I could have made this one wrap around, but that picture would look weird wrapped around. So I made it not. But this one works perfectly as wrapped around. The funny thing about this one, these are just generic pictures that I found, like they're free pictures and you're allowed to use on that website. Anybody could go and use the same picture for their book. But this one is perfect because for one thing it's blue, and for another, this book is like, it's heavily based on time and stuff, especially the second half of the book when he's playing, when Alice and CC13 are playing together. It's extremely heavily based on time, so it's cool to have the time and all these other little things on there. It just fit. I was originally thinking of having the chessboard because it's strategy game. Even when they're not playing a game, it's like everything's like a strategy based and stuff, and like, so I was originally thinking of that, but I couldn't. There was no just chessboard pictures on their site that worked for it. And then I saw this one, and I'm like, that's good for this one. And then this one, it kind of cracks me up because it's all snow, and on the back you see vehicles, and I'm like, I don't know what I ever pictured them driving in Can You Do Essa. I don't know if I ever pictured them driving, but I've never pictured them on horses, and they clearly don't just walk everywhere. So I don't know what their vehicles look like, but it wasn't the modern type of vehicles that you see on the back of this one that I ever pictured. And Vicky's like, I don't remember you ever bringing up anything about snow either. And I'm like, well, technically it's obviously not in winter. I don't know what their seasons are like. I just never mentioned it. So I don't know whether they have snow or not. They obviously have rain and no rain. So you'd think they'd have snow, but I don't know. I never mentioned whether they had snow or not. So this picture is a winter scene with cars in it, and I don't know if either one of those are correct. The cars definitely aren't. I don't know what their vehicles are like, but they don't look like the ones like our typical modern cars. And I have no idea if they have snow. But it was just the mood of this picture, the greenness and just the trees and all of that. Every time I ever pictured King Vesa and having any kind of cover for it, it was always something to do with this kind of scenery. Like, I don't know how you can see it because it's pretty dark. But the thing with these two is, these are two of my favorite ones that I've ever written, and two of the closest to being, like, completely ready to publish. The problem with both of them is that I have no spell checker, typo catcher, grammar corrector. I don't have one for either one of them. I also have to do some formatting because it went and messed up the format. Look what it did to the first page. Like, all of that should be on the same page as this, and that should be on the next page. And this one really screwed up. Because the poem, that's supposed to be all on this page. If that was all on this page, I wouldn't care about the rest of it. Like, I don't know if you could ever stop it from having, like, one word on the next page or something. Like, even something like that. I'm like, I personally am okay with that. I'm not completely against that. But this fucking thing being on two different pages just irks me so bad. So I'd have to, like, fix that. But aside from that, like, the spelling and grammar and whatnot. And I was even thinking of getting to the point where I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll just sell it for less and make a comment of saying, sorry, there's spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes in this thing, if that's the only way to get it published. Because, like, I've asked numerous times if people want to help me, and apparently nobody wants to help me. They're all busy with their own life, and okay, fine. But I really wanted my own physical copies of my own book. It's so intensely exciting having these things in my hands. Ooh, it's exciting. Even though they got all of this written on them because these are the proof copies. They just wrapped around, not for resale, like all the way from back to front. Right across it, and I'm like, but I have my physical copies of my books. So, Alice Blue, I personally have rated 18 plus. It's mainly the first half of the book that I'd say is 18 plus, and maybe other people would say the whole thing is 16 plus. Just in case, if you know your 16-year-old better than I do and you want to let them read it, go ahead. But just check first. So, like, use caution. Because of the situations and everything's happening, mainly with Alice's background, which is the first half of the book. This one, I think the whole thing is 16 plus. This one, like both of these books, everybody that has said they look interesting and they want to read them, I'm always like, but I don't know if you would like it, because, like, I'm, like, so insecure about, like, people that have never read my stuff before, which is pretty much everybody. I'm like, if you have a preconceived idea of what kind of stories I write, etc., then you might be rather shocked when you actually read one of my stories. So I'm very nervous about, like, people reading it because I have no idea what they're actually going to think of the story itself or of me as the author of that story. And the thing with this one is, it's a fantasy, but it has, like, a supernatural-esque feel to it, because I personally do not believe in ghosts, like people that have died standing around on Earth. I believe in angels and demons. I don't believe in ghosts. And I also don't believe in, like, the actual soul of a human being separated from their body and just, like, floating around or anything like that. It kind of sounds like that's what I'm saying is happening in this book, but it's not. So, I don't know, maybe I'm towing a line that I should have been towing, and it might confuse people, because, like, I thought she clearly said she doesn't believe in this, and then that's what it sounds like this book is and all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I personally think it's one of the best I've ever written, and I don't know if I've ever managed to write anything else that sounds quite the same as this. It's just the feel of it and just everything about it. I love it. So I can't help it. So that's my two stories that are now in book form. For me, at least. And if I ever get up the guts, and if anybody ever makes me the offer, and if you hear that and you still would like to help, and no, I'm sorry, if a stranger or someone across the world or something like that asks me, no, you can't do it. The only other thing I was going to maybe talk about was FB and the fact that recently I deleted a whole bunch of people off my friends list. In a way, I kind of wanted to explain more about why I did that. In another way, I don't want to bother. But, like, my point is, I mean, like, sometimes in a relationship, let's say, one person might think that the two of you are closer than the other one might think. So, like, one of you might think that you're best friends, whereas the other one thinks you're just friends. Or one of you might think that you're friends, and the other one thinks you're acquaintances. But see, that's one of the things about the word friends, period. The problem with the English language that I've come to realize is that there is no word that fits between acquaintance and friend. And that really sucks. Because in actuality, most of the people I know, no offense to anyone, but most of the people I know don't really fit in either category of acquaintance or friend. They are literally somewhere in the middle. Because, I mean, acquaintance is someone you just kind of know, someone you've met a few times. It's more than a stranger because you know things about each other. You've spent some time together, but you're not friends. You're just kind of acquaintances. You kind of know each other. And I think a lot of the people I know are a lot closer to being acquaintances than they are friends, because friends is like someone you're closer to, someone like you care about, someone that you spend time with, someone that you have mutual hobbies and interests and likes and beliefs and all that kind of stuff with. And like it doesn't, not to say that you're exactly the same and that's why you're friends, because plenty of people are friends with someone that's the exact opposite of them, or not very much like them at all. And some of those friendships are actually the best friendships. But like, my point is, you know what I mean. There's definite friendship is over here and acquaintance is over here. And the really sad thing is that there's nothing in between. Or at least I know of no word that's in between those two words. And it seems like the vast majority of people I know fit somewhere in between there. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that probably think they're friends with me, and I do not want to hurt their feelings, but in actuality, we probably aren't friends. Because you might think you know me, but you don't. Because there's plenty about me that, I mean, I tend to share lots about myself, but at the same time, there's plenty that I haven't really necessarily shared. Like all my inner thoughts and whatnot, and the stuff that I really, really, really get passionate about and want to, like, I don't know. It's like all about a safety thing and a trust thing, and I have issues with trust, and if I can't completely trust you, then I can't completely call you a friend, and it's not because you're not worthy of trust or anything like that. Like I say, I'm not trying to offend anyone to say, I can't trust you because you might be a jerk for all I know. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I have issues with trusting people and being who I really am and being completely comfortable in a way that I can completely let my guard down and just be completely open and honest with you. I mean, it's kind of like how the other day I was talking to somebody. The conversation, emotions rose, and that's the problem. Emotions rose, and all of a sudden she's saying something and I'm not agreeing with her, but because her emotions are rising, she's not hearing me, and I don't want to hear her because I completely disagree with her, but she's clearly not hearing me because she's passionate about something and I'm passionate about something, and it's not the same thing we're passionate about, or it is the same thing, but it's different views of it. But the thing is, anytime I have like something like that happen, it winds me all up, and I'm like upset, and I'm like, clearly I can't talk about certain things around this person because we're just going to get emotional and we won't be able to agree. We won't even be able to talk about it, never mind finding out whether we actually agree or not. Because a lot of the time it sounds like you're not agreeing with someone when you get emotional, but then when you actually calm down and talk about it, it turns out that you're actually 90% are agreeing. There's just a small 10% that you're not agreeing on, whereas when you're emotional, it sounds like 90% of stuff is you don't agree on that. So it's like, I feel like, okay, I have to tiptoe around this person, I have to be very careful around this person can only ever come this close to me, and all of this stuff, and like, they'll never be one of my favorite people, and it's just, it happens just because like of one conversation or something like that. But then the thing is, we parted ways for a bit, and then the next time I saw her, I was shocked, and it felt so amazing. She walks up to me and said, I know I was getting emotional, so I am very sorry if I offended you or any way, and I'm sorry for getting that emotional and just kind of like letting it out on you all of a sudden. I'm like, especially because she's a lot younger than me, and I was really shocked that she actually apologized for it. Not in a way that, I'm sorry, I was completely wrong and you were completely right. That wasn't even the point. The point was she was admitting she got very emotional and she was sorry for coming across wrong. And I'm like, wow, that was so, and all of a sudden, instantly, the trust level went whoosh. I'm like, if you're the kind of person that can admit that something happened there that shouldn't have happened, and like you acknowledge the fact that all of a sudden you were talking on emotion rather than fact, and just like that you were being emotional, just the fact that you acknowledged that, because so many people these days won't acknowledge the fact that they're running on emotion and blabbering away with their mouth, and not even like they're still acting like they're talking about facts and stuff, but they aren't. Now they're all of a sudden running on emotion and they won't even admit that, and won't like back off or apologize for that. They just like run it off, and then it's like, okay, now I can't trust you anymore. The fact that she admitted that she did, now I'm like, you know what? All of a sudden I really want to sit down and have an actual discussion with her about this, even though usually I'm like, okay, now I can never talk to that person again about this topic, and it's something I can never talk about anybody to, because like clearly everybody I talk to gets emotional, and then it's all like, no discussion actually happens, no education, no growth happens on anybody's side, because we're all just so emotional that we just tear each other down instead of growing. That's what like most of the world seems to be doing these days. But the fact that she acknowledged the fact that she was doing and apologized for it like instantly, now I'm like, wow, I want to sit down and have like a really deep discussion with you, because you're clearly someone that knows the difference and that will acknowledge it, and we can go, whoop, hold up, I wonder both of us is getting emotional, let's try that again. And I can trust you to do that, and like I can let my guard down, and I don't have to get all emotional anymore, and I don't have to be like putting up a block and saying, nope, don't come any closer than that, end of discussion. Because now you're starting to like, especially on the internet, but even in real life, just the whole world has been getting more and more and more like that. And the thing with FB, and the fact I can't remember now when I started, did I have 149 or friends on my friends list? And by the time that I finished, at least at the moment, I'm all of a sudden down to 117. That's quite a jump down. And like I put on FB what the criteria was, and I made it public so that if any of those people that I deleted go, what the crap did she delete me for? I made it public so that they could come to my page and see why. So there's not just like a hasta la vista and there's no explanation. You're just like, oh, why? I thought we were friends and she deleted me. That's just mean. Because I don't want to be one of those people that's just like, boom. With like, I mean, maybe there was just a misunderstanding or something, so I want to give them a chance if they want to be like, hold up, don't just delete me. Scrolling back through all my statuses and stuff, because I lost my journals, I'm kind of using statuses on FB to kind of recreate a bit of a, as at least a starting point, and I want to see if I can fill out some of those things that I can remember, using that as a trigger for my memory, because if I just start off with a blank nothing, then like I have nothing to trigger my memory with, and it all just stays blank. But if I have things to trigger it, it can like lead onwards to other stuff, and I can remember things, and I can actually, like, you know, maybe fill something out, because I don't just want to completely lose all of that history. It's still there. I've been through stuff. I had a life. But yeah, I've been scrolling back through there, and there's just so many things that are just so different. Like, some people just chose to not use FB anymore, and some people have passed away, so they aren't on FB anymore. And just the absence of those people has made a big difference on the feel of FB. There are people that had sense, and or they're people that were just, every time I read their comments, I'm laughing, and I'm like, thank you for that, you just made my day brighter. And like, the absence of those people has actually made a big difference. And like, I even commented on the year when 2 of those people passed away, so they're no longer on there. I made the comment right away that FB is just not going to be the same without them, but that kind of went into the back of my head, and I stopped thinking about it. And then more recently, I'm like, looking back, I'm going, yeah, I was right. That really did make a big difference. Their absence just made a big difference. And it's a really sad difference. It's a frustrating difference. Like, because too, FB changed the way it does stuff. Like, you know how, because they started making it so that if a friend likes something, all of a sudden what they liked is in my newsfeed, just because they liked it. I'm like, who said I wanted all of their likes in my newsfeed? Because stuff that they like is not necessarily what I like, and now it's like in my newsfeed instead of all the stuff that I like. Or the just plain status updates of my friends. Like, what are they doing in their day-to-day life? And just like with everything else, FB has become memized, where, people used to know how to write their own thoughts and express their own, using their own words, what was happening in their day-to-day life or how they felt. Nowadays, FB is just so full of people, all they share is memes, or I can't even, quiz results, or like survey results. And I say that in big fat quotes because back in the day, I've said it more than once, back in the day, they used to be like, here's a question, here's 5 different possible answers, and like you could do like 20 different questions and have 5 different answers, and it would come up with this thing, and you're like, this is kind of fun because you're like, I'm answering things and you're assessing it. Nowadays it's like, what's your favorite color? And I'm going to tell you everything about your most inner thoughts and who you are. And I'm like, how the crap would you know that? You're lying through your teeth. And yet that's what people are sharing all the time on FB. Those kind of results and memes and like quotes from other places, and just like they don't even explain why they're sharing the quote. If they share a quote from someone and it says the name of the person they quoted, they say nothing about whether they actually support or like that person, or if they even know who that person is. And it's just that one singular quote that they actually liked. And they don't tell me why they like it, they don't tell me why they're sharing it, they don't tell me if they like it, because sometimes people share stuff and they're actually sharing it because they don't entirely agree with it or something, but they don't tell you that. It's become so much like people don't use their own words anymore. Like they really, really don't use their own words anymore. And it's becoming more and more and more like that. And it's like, and then there's at least 2 people I can think of that just the more and more through the years, the only time they ever comment on my stuff anymore is to be combative and to be like on the opposite end of the scale. And it's not that I'm trying to create an echo chamber. They call it an echo chamber when you just surround yourself with people that just echo back your beliefs. So that's all you hear is your reconfirming of your own beliefs and all this stuff. Is actually a dangerous thing to do. And I think I do that to a certain degree. And I'm trying not to, because it's important to hear other views and to learn how to respond to them properly and logically and thoughtfully. Those are arts that have been completely lost, or almost completely lost, in the world today. People don't know how to do it anymore, and I'm pointing a finger at myself too. I never was very good at that because I'm a highly emotional person. See, ADHD. What was I saying? It's just something that isn't done anymore. And that's the thing. FB itself has changed so much, but the people on there have changed so much. The way they relate to life and the way they use life and the way they don't use life anymore. And like, especially back in 2009, I was like an incredible chatterbox because of what I was doing in life at that time. It just set me up to be a lot more of me, of who I really was. And then things changed, and I became less and less able to share who I really am online because the world around me is changing, the people around me are changing. And now I feel less and less safe being me online. And recently I'm like, it's at least partially because of the people that are on, some of the people on my friends list. And that's actually part of why I deleted some of them. Because I'm like, if I can't be myself around you, then we're not friends. Bye. Have a good time in your own life. You can just stay out of mine if that's all you're going to be here for, is to hold me back and keep me on the defense all the time. No thanks. I'm tired of dealing with that. Way too many things in life have been way too stressful. I don't need that anymore. And then there's some people on there that just, I don't know what they are using FB for. There's nothing wrong with that, but I am not interested in it. And I'm like, okay, you can go over there and I can come over here, and it was good knowing you at one point, but I don't anymore, so bye. The older I get, the more I'm realizing, because on one hand, people with ADHD in general, I think it's a trait that we want to be noticed, but at the same time, we're terrified of being noticed because we're so different. We're constantly picked on in life for our differences. In my everyday life right now, in reality, when I go to work, I have to do a lot of masking because of topics tying me up to the nth degree, just because I don't have the same viewpoint as a lot of people, and or just a lot of people around me. And then I can't do it online because in a way that's even more dangerous online, because even more people are going to see you. But stuff like that happens. And it's just I don't know, especially FB, which is supposedly supposedly, way back near the beginning, not anymore, it's supposedly my space, my place. I can do what I want on my page. If you don't like it, you can go away. That stopped happening a long time ago. It's not my space anymore. It's FB doing whatever they want with you. They can, like, I can say whatever I want, and too bad, they don't like it, so they're going to take it off, rather than saying, to the people that don't like it, well, suck it up, grow up, you're an adult, act like it. No, the responsibility comes back on me. You take it off because it's not fact-checked to our beliefs. So what? It's my page. Go away. Apparently not. But anyway, there's that, what FB is doing, period. And then there's also the people on my friends list. They're like, hey. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to do a little of what I can to... I don't know. I just need a place where maybe I can go back to being a little more like me and who I really am. Like, my YouTube channel is supposed to be like that. And if you don't like it, too bad for you. Go away. It was your choice to click on this video. If you don't like what I'm saying or what I'm doing, then go away. You have that ability. You can go away. Just because someone upsets you doesn't mean you're allowed to go and attack them. But yeah, people don't know how to be responsible for their own emotions anymore. They really don't. For their own actions and their own emotions. People just do not understand how to be responsible for them anymore, and it's really frustrating. But anyway, I've been rambling for a long time. All of a sudden, my thingy says, yeah, it's been 3:50, 4:50, about 5 minutes short of an hour. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll see how much of that ends up in the, I don't know. It's been quite a while since I made a video, because December's a bad month for me, and January's not always the greatest either, and they've been so busy. So weirdly flippin' busy. That, yeah. And this is the first time that I've been alone at home for a little while, so there's that too. So anyway, I guess that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to make a comment on any of the parts of this video that I talked about, if you want to know more about these books, my pretties, or if you have seen that show or read those books and absolutely love them and want to comment, me too, I'm a fan too, I love those characters too, who's your favorite character, just do not bring up the whole, those two, they are friends. Stop. Ugh. Won't say any more than that. This makes me really... So anyway, it's supposed to be ending on a positive note. Make a comment on something if you want to make a comment on something. Just try to keep it positive, or try to keep it kind, even if you disagree with me. Please be kind, because there is no reason to go attacking anybody. Bye. Thanks for watching.